Yeah. So hi, this is Dr. V, the burnout expert, and I'm talking to Renee today because I would like to share your positive messages, which is very important for anybody to have a positive mindset, surround themselves with positivity. I think it has a positive effect on mind, body, and soul. So it's part of the things that I do when I coach people, and the advice that I give to my clients with burnout is also to surround themselves with positive people, avoid looking at the news or horror movies, but rather watch comedy and stuff like that for people who are in a very low place. But I mean, tell me more about yourself, Renee. I found your Instagram account amazing with all of these positive messages. So can you tell me a little bit about yourself and how did you end up doing what you're doing?
Sure. My background is in journalism. I worked for a newspaper, but that was quite a while ago, many years ago. And then I took a break to do charity work, to move to Santa Barbara, California. I used to live in Los Angeles, and to raise my children.
Yeah.
And then realized I had an opportunity to do anything I wanted. And I was speaking with a dear friend one day, and we were wondering why there's only bad news out there, why there's so much good news, but it's so underrepresented and hard to find. So we decided to start a website where we would have only good news.
Yeah.
And we link the news from all over the world. That's good. But that was our starting point. So we started 6 months ago. And it's already, we're just thrilled with the way that it's been going. I think the world was ready for some positivity and some good news and some ideas about how to be good news, to actually do something too. And that's my favorite part of the business, that we have weekly kindness challenges. And we will have a specific challenge, like let somebody in a hurry go in line ahead of you, or bring a coworker a cup of coffee. Just something that is so minor, but can make a really big difference in somebody's day.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Did I meet you through A-Fest or not?
I don't think we actually met at A-Fest. We were both there. What?
Were you in Portugal also?
I was.
Okay, yeah, so I can't remember bumping into you. But I was saying to people there, how come we cannot find a channel with good news? Why do they never report good news? And that's why I avoid watching the news. I don't read newspapers anymore. But on the other hand, there's a certain group of people like me who therefore have stepped away from politics, etc., because we think it's a world we don't want to really be involved in. But on the other hand, the message is that people who like being positive and like having a lot of goodness to spread should actually also be involved in politics. So you can, so this was a bit confusing for a lot of us because we think this is a part of the world that we don't want to have anything to do with, but we have to, because we need to vote for the things we believe in if we want to make a difference in the world. I love doing the little things every day, the little acts of kindness. Absolutely, that's easy to implement. And I think I'm now in a workplace where we do that every day for each other. I have a very nice work environment at the moment. I work in a hospital in Wales. But on a bigger scale, I'm still a little bit like, ooh, I don't believe anything they say anymore on TV or in the newspaper. So who do you trust and who do you vote for and all of that? Because they make promises and then it never happens. So do you have any advice on that? So do you also cover that in your Good News website? And what is the website so I can find it?
The website is thepositivereport.com.
Yeah.
And we also have all the usual social media, including a Facebook group page. This Facebook group page has grown to way over 1,000 members. It says we started 5 months ago, but really it's just happened in the last 3 months. It's been incredible. People love to interact with each other and to share their good news and their days. And so you can find us on the Facebook group page. We also have a Facebook business page. Everything is the Positive Report.
Yeah.
And our Instagram, and yeah. just getting started on our LinkedIn and our Twitter, so not too much going on there yet.
It's already very impressive. I mean, maybe you don't need all social media platforms if you're already doing really well on a few other ones. So that's
always room for growth.
I only know your Instagram posts and I love them. So how do you get inspiration? Where do you find inspiration for your posts?
Honestly, they're just downloads. I often will go on a walk or a run and it will just come to me. And then once I have the quote, it's pretty easy just to sit down and write a little write-up on it. And when I talk to people or give advice, I'm talking to myself. So I know, we're all connected. We all have a lot of the same concerns and things. And I'm not preaching at other people. I'm just telling them what I found has worked for me. And yeah.
I've got two more questions. I mean, this is far away from what you're doing, but do you have any experience with burnout? Because that's my main interest, actually, where my client, that I'm trying to build awareness worldwide in people who have burnout. And I think your tool is one that I can add to the toolbox for people. When I say don't look at this and look at that, and I can say rather look at this website or rather follow these people on social media. To be inundated with positivity around you. So do you have any experience, or do you know anybody who suffered from burnout?
Yeah, I think everybody has suffered from some form of burnout at some point. Do you want me to answer that question related specifically to job burnout or life burnout? Or okay. With job burnout, I think the most important thing is that when you leave the office or when you leave work, make sure that you're leaving mentally as well as physically, because a lot of times people will leave the office or stop doing whatever it is that they're doing, but they'll just keep thinking about it over and over and replaying it in their mind, and that is exhausting.
Absolutely, yes.
That's supposed to be the time away from work and replaying things, and I think it is part of a great percentage of people's habits. They just haven't learned how to refocus their mind, and that's something that I've really been practicing. If you're upset about something, try to distract yourself with something that makes you happy. I like to go for a walk in nature. I think nature is wonderful for everybody, unless, of course, you're allergic to something in nature. But otherwise, I think just fresh air and being out. And if you can take a break, if you're in an office or a cubicle, maybe take a little break and go on a walk. I think that's very helpful.
Yeah. That's what I used to do in my previous job. It was very, very stressful, but I gave myself permission every lunch break to go for a little walk. But then my boss started complaining about me being not there the whole time, and they started giving me more and more work, so I didn't have a lunch break anymore. And that is really when I started to get ill again, because it didn't give me any chance to let go of negative, stress, and or to, oops, here we go. No matter how I turn this, there's always something in the picture that I don't want to be in the picture. I think my cat just slept in the cupboard and opened the door, but in any case, so yeah, that's so important that you build in a moment for yourself, because especially also when you're an empath or you're like, I'm a doctor, people who care for other people, they collect a lot of the stress and emotions and anxiety of the people they work with. They're not always aware of it, but I'm very aware of it, and I actually need to shake that off after my work. So I used to run on the beach, or I go for a swim, or I do some form of exercise. I feel like it's a way of getting it out of your body. And that's when you walk in nature, you're doing the same thing. You're shaking it off, you're getting it off, and you have like all the good vibes from nature instead to replenish you. So that's very, very important. That's really good advice, to take a break whenever you can. And also when you mentioned leaving, like forgetting about your work when you walk out of the office, and really, being present, body and mind, in the rest of your life. Because we all want a balanced work life, but if your mind is still at work, you're not present with your partner or with your children. And that's actually, you're not giving them quality time. You're just like an empty vessel being there. And that doesn't count. That's not good enough to have a good relationship with either. And I experienced that for the first time when I was a medical student, and I did my first practicals as a a house officer. And I was so worried because I was working on intensive care, and it was my first experience, and I really cared for all of these patients who just survived a heart attack, or were possibly would be dead the next day when I came back to work. And I was so worried about it the whole time. So I kind of sat down with myself and I said, I cannot be a doctor if this is what I do the whole time, because it's draining me, always worrying about what's happening at work when I'm not there. So I made the decision to somehow, at a certain level, disconnect, still being there, like medically, doing everything right, but trying not to take all of the pain home with me from the people who are unwell. And I think that some people don't do that, and then it's too hard, and they probably give up early in their career. Or they become radiologists or something where you don't really have to see people.
So it's difficult for an empath, and a doctor is very likely to be an empath.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really tough because I work as an eye surgeon with a lot of elderly people. Also, it's more draining than when you work with young people. So I can feel the difference. And I don't know whether you know, but I actually wrote a memoir about my journey. It's called Journey from Science to Faith, because originally I studied medicine to try and understand how the world works and why people do what they do. Having quite a hard childhood. And then this is the book, My Surgeon Talks to Angels. Yeah. And there's a scene in there where I was drowning in the ocean. I was trying to surf on my own. And I had this whole conversation with God, and I kind of made a deal that if I would survive miraculously, that I would be this vessel for God, healing energy. And and then some surfer dude appeared over the hill and swam out to me, and it took him a long time to get me out of the surf. But I made it, and then he walked away and nobody knew who he was. So it was this kind of miraculous event that I was saved after I had already given up and kind of said, okay, this is it. I saw my life flashing in front of my eyes, and I accepted that I'd had a good 23 years. That's how long I had lived at that stage. And I was happy to let go. And then, and then I came back, and I have an extra dimension to being a medical doctor, that I kind of always feel like I have to do that extra work and be present energetically, and also, do that, channel the divine. My patients don't know that, but there's always this extra presence that works through my hands, also when I'm doing surgery. And often people will say afterwards, oh, is it already over, the operation? Or, oh, that headache that I had for years is now also gone. Or, because I also trained as a Reiki master to try and understand what is happening. And so it's pretty intense, the work that I do. But going back to burnout, I suffered from it twice. And I'll definitely recommend people to concentrate on the positive in their life and doing these little acts of kindness. And what I would like to ask also people who don't have burnout to reach out to that environment if they have friends or family, or they see it at work with people struggling like with burnout, to actually reach out to them and say, hey, I want to help you. You need to look for help, because usually people are in such a dark place and in such low energy, they don't reach out for help anymore. They just like collapsed and completely empty. So what all of these positive people can do that follow you is, there's also an act of kindness, is to reach out on people that look very down and bring them something, some advice, some help. to help them pull out of that deep dark place where they are. And it's one of my missions. I would like to help everybody worldwide to become aware of burnout, so they don't have to get it, to recognize the early signs and then have all of these positive things in place to turn it around. And on the other hand, I would also like to help people, because I've also learned to be like an emotional freedom coach and stuff like that, to help people on all levels, very holistically, from body, mind, and spirit, to heal and see this as an opportunity to have a turnaround in their life. And often it's like a spiritual growth when you have like a trauma like that in your life. And that is what I'm actually looking for, people that I could help like that. Do you have any idea where I could find those people? Or how I can get in front of them?
Your audience is worldwide and pretty much every demographic, so I don't think there'll be any problem finding people. The internet, word of mouth, A-Fest people, they're the best. Just 'cause we'll get the word out, and it's not a problem to get a great message out these days, and you have a great message. And are you just starting this up?
No, I've had a website already for a while. I'm learning to do all of the steps myself. So I'm still scared of writing a blog post, scared I'm going to destroy something in my website. And I'm just dabbling. Like, I made my first Instagram post today, I think, on Canva or something. And I realized that my Instagram post is like complete chaos, because I just take nice photos and slogans, and it's very chaotic. I don't have like that system in place that you have, where everything is like perfectly set up and matching colors and all of that. But I think I can turn it around. I'm like, every day I learn something more. Like with these Zoom interviews last weekend, we had a lot of troubles because we didn't realize that you have to use the audio of the computer. You can't have a headphone. And we figured that out today in the previous interview that I did. So I think if I don't give up, I will learn to conquer the technology step by step.
Well, I did not use social media, and I taught myself everything, and I feel now like I'm almost an expert on some of the social media, so I'd be happy to help you and to cross promote with you.
Okay, yeah, that would be great. Thank you very much.
So
because there's so many little aspects to that, so yeah, thank you for offering to do that with me. So do you have any what you told me already is great advice for people. So do you have any other, what's your favorite slogan or motivational quote?
So our tagline is my favorite slogan, and that is, so don't just read good news, and then the tagline is be good news. So do something kind for someone else. I have found that when I'm sad or have burnout, the thing that makes me the absolute happiest is when I happen to be in the right place at the right time, and I have an opportunity to make a difference in somebody's lives. I have a story, I don't know if you want me to go into that happened last week, but I just had the perfect opportunity to help these women. And I was so happy. I was on a high for about 2 days from that. So I do believe that helping people because you want to, not because, it's another to-do thing on your list. If your heart's not into it, then
no, that's not the same.
Going to work. But if you genuinely, and I think for 99% of the people, if you're in the right place mentally, emotionally, and then also physically, to be able to do the spontaneous act, it really does feel amazing.
Yes.
Because
that's amazing. I really love that slogan. I hope I can find that post somewhere to share that. Be good news. That is amazing. Yeah, lovely.
And my business partner came up with that, and I love it.
Well, that is fantastic. Do you have anything else to share? Otherwise, I'm happy to finish here.
Well, the only thing, again, back to your burnout, I know that a lot of people are stuck in a job. Stuck, maybe not be the right word, but they feel that they need to stay in a job.
Mm-hmm.
And I have found that a lot of times that the reason that you have burnout or frustration, or your heart is just not into what you're doing, is because the labels or the meaning that we put on that task. And if you can find a way to flip it in your mind and to say, oh, see if I can come up with an analogy, but whatever it is you're doing paperwork, or you're typing, and you can say, I have to type 100 pages for my boss and feeling burnout. But if you can look at it like, wow, I have an opportunity to learn how to type really fast, and I'm getting better and better at it, then you're going to feel better about what you're doing. So I think it's all an attitude about what you're doing.
That's actually the rephrasing that we teach our coaching clients also. And that's why I said earlier on, instead of being angry at the technology or angry at myself for not being good at it yet,
I do that too, by the way.
I said I'm learning something new every day. So that is very important to rephrase things. And the example that came up in my mind was that, for instance, I work with a lot of nurses, and there's a new thing at work where they refuse to wash up other people's cups. And I can understand that, because that's not really in their job description and all of that. So now, there's like a bit of a battle going on, and some people wash their own cups and other people don't. But I think it's a Buddha thing, or the Buddhists do it a lot. There's any small jobs that you can do, you can put your heart and soul in it and just do it really well, and it can be very satisfying, even if it's washing other people's cups. And I also believe that anybody plays an essential role in keeping the world turning. So I'm always like, say hello. It's a very big hospital where I work, but I greet every person that works there, like people who are scrubbing the floors or whatever, because without them we couldn't have a clean hospital, So I find people shouldn't underestimate the job they do, how important it is in the bigger picture of making their company. I mean, even people who scrub the toilets, the people there couldn't work as well if they wouldn't be doing it. We know that because sometimes the dustbin men go on strike, and then it's chaos in the city. So, I mean, everybody plays an important role, and they should be proud of that. And other people should respect that also. I mean, I had to learn that lesson really hard when I had a really severe burnout where I quit my doctor's job, and I had, for 6 months, I was just being alone with my firstborn child, and I really had this ego crisis of, I'm not worth anything now that I'm not a doctor anymore. And I realized that it took me a long time to get over that, because I identified with my job so much, with the work I was doing, that I forgot who I was really, my essential being. And I really had to refine that. And it's tough. I think a lot of people who go through burnout go through this ego crisis where you think like, I'm nothing anymore because I can't do this job anymore. And it's wrong, because just even if you're, lying in bed the whole day because you're so exhausted, you still are good enough, and you still, deserve to live. That's what I had to learn through my burnout experience. And I just want to give that message to people who are feeling like I'm doing a stupid job or I hate my job. It's still important what you're doing, no matter how small it is. And or whether it's big and overwhelming, that's another thing, of course. The advice for people who feel overwhelmed with work, like if you feel that your boss is giving you too much work, a trick that I learned from my own secretary is she wrote everything down that she did during the week, and gave me this big list of things. You think I can do more? Look at all the things that I've already done for you. And she showed me, and I said, wow, I'm really impressed. I didn't realize you did all of that and that. And then I said, oh, I'm so sorry that I thought you could do more. I'm completely taking my words back. I'm so impressed also with the fact that you took this initiative to actually show me how much you're doing already. And I think that's good advice if you have a struggle with your boss about how much can you actually do. And I need to take my own advice at the moment, because sometimes they're pushing more and more patients into slots with doctors so that I don't have lunch break anymore. And I also realized that I cannot go really deep with each patient if you only have 10 minutes. And then I think like, oh, I don't have time to do everything really as good as I could if I would have double the amount of time with each patient. So I need to have that conversation again with the manager and say, listen, what do you want? And, you know, I can do high numbers, or do you want quality and no medical mistakes? Because
I hope the latter.
yeah. So it's always tough because managers always try and push their staff to do more and more and more, right? So sometimes you just have to stand up and say, you know, do you really want to get a mistake here? Because you cannot push people to do more and more and more like that. And there's not enough time to do things right. So yeah, that's just one of my 2 things that I've learned. Because a lot of people who get burnout, they haven't learned to say no, and they're people pleasers. So that's another important thing that people, you know, need to learn once you're somewhere employed, or even if you're the boss, to really learn to prioritize and say, okay, either this is not super important, or this is not urgent, or somebody else can do it, or I don't want to do it. I mean, there's lots of reasons, and you don't always have to say, I can't do that because I have an appointment with my personal trainer. I mean, that's one of those excuses that people sometimes use.
Important, by the way. So I think the mind body, it's all important. You need to work out.
It's essential. Yeah, and you need to prioritize all of these moments in your life where you recharge and invest in yourself. It's like that, like when they're on the plane, they give the safety briefing and they say, put your own oxygen mask on first before you help others. That's one of the things I say to my clients. Think of it like that. You first have to take care of yourself before you can take, good care of your clients, your family, your partner, whoever you're serving. They need to understand, and I hope that more and more people will accept that it's okay to take time off for yourself. So these are some of the messages I want to put out there.
So, and one more message, when you were talking, it made me think that sometimes we give so much and we watch bad news, which is very draining, and develop negative habits that are draining. And when we refocus to pay more attention to what's good in the world and what's right, and when we pay more attention to our thoughts, and flip something negative to a positive, then I think there is less burnout. There's more energy. I know for me, I have so much more energy to make a difference when I say no to things that are draining me.
Yeah.
And I watch the good news. So, I mean, I check in every now and then to see what's going on in the bad news world, but you don't need a lot of that. It doesn't take long to get caught up. So I think what we watch, what we bring into our minds makes a really big difference and contributes to the burnout.
Absolutely. And also the people you surround yourself with, like in your free time, the friends or the family members you spend time with, make sure they are like positive people you surround yourself with, because some of my clients, they spend time with their elderly parents and they're being abused by their elderly parents. And then I think, like, why? I mean, you show up for them and they treat you badly like that. Let's turn the situation around. You do something for yourself and for your relationship, and, be okay with that. So, it's hard sometimes. People have all of these energy connections with their families, so they feel they have to do certain things, or they're like brainwashed to doing certain behaviors over and over again that are not good for them. So that's why they need a burnout coach like me.
Well, I know you will do very well. The whole world needs you. So
Yep. So if you know anybody, send them to me. I love helping people. It's very satisfying for me to empower people so that they can come out their best self, you know. And if we make everybody, if I can lift a few people here and there to make a difference in the world, it's huge. So because they can all go home and spread their good vibes wherever they live. So that's similar as what we do in A-Fest, actually. But I like that idea of putting little lights everywhere that then can, you know, vibrate into their environment, all the good vibes and spread them around. Yeah, it's a beautiful picture, actually. I can see like the whole planet with all of these bright lights.
So that actually leads right into something that I wanted to say, which is that the Positive Report is on a mission to have challenges accepted in 100 countries by year 2020. We are currently up to 20 countries, so we've got 80 to go. And we want to have more than 1 million challenges, kindness challenges, taken worldwide before 2020. And we're at about 9,000.
Wow.
So yes, if you can put the word out, that would be fabulous.
Yeah, definitely. If I, how do I share, you know, a link to you? What's the best way to do it?
I can send you a link and then you can just forward it.
Yeah, excellent. And how do people then say, okay, we're going to do this challenge, or who starts the challenge actually? Is it people?
Well, my business partner and I come up with a challenge every week. So we'll have a new one coming out today. And it takes honestly about 3 seconds to accept the challenge. So you can either go on to thepositivereport.com, the website.
Yeah.
And you'll see a blue box with a challenge in it, and then right under it, it says your name and your email address are optional. You do need to put in either your country or your zip code, because we were trying to find out if we have our 100 countries. Or on some of my posts now, I'm going to start saying, you can go ahead and just comment, I accept, and your country or your zip code, and we'll count them that way too.
Okay.
So yeah, very easy, and the actual challenges are just very, very small, and you can take them 50 times if you want, and you can take past challenges too.
Okay, and do people then take a photo of them doing it and post it back to you, or how do you know what's happening?
Well, they can, and if it's a great, entertaining photo or video, we have a share section on our website where we share our readers' content, so we could put it on that. But no, it's the honor system. If you say you accepted the challenge, then you know we take it.
Okay. That's excellent. I'm so happy that you are doing this, which is really, really needed in our society. And I'm looking forward to following you on all of your social media. And
Thank you. Well, thank you for having me on here. This was wonderful.
Yeah, thank you so much for showing up. And for me, it's Sunday night, so I'm gonna have some family time with my children now.
Wonderful. It's Sunday morning, so I think I'll go exercise.
Oh, beautiful. Have a nice Sunday. I see the weather is nice where you are.
Yeah, it's pretty nice. A little overcast, but pretty nice.
Well, enjoy it, and keep up coming out with all of the positive news, please.
Thank you.
And we might bump into each other.
One more thing I'll show you, since so my business partner and I last night just came up with our universal gesture that we want everybody to do after they've done a kind act or taken a challenge, and it's simply this, from me to you. It's just a small, yeah, look at you got it. Me to you. Because we want guys to be able to do it too and not make a big deal out of it. Yeah, just come between your shoulders and your heart and just me to you.
Okay.
So,
yeah,
I'm hoping that will go
or something like that. But
right. Yeah. We're keeping it simple for the men that want simple and the kids. But yeah, that's it.
I'll start that.
Thank you. Have a wonderful day.
Yeah, you too.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Stay in touch. Bye.